I was talking about technology with some guests, and I asked, well, what did we do before? So we got in this conversation about what did we do before cell phones? What did we do before ATMs and before television and before electricity? And somebody said, I said, what did our ancestors, our predecessors do before electricity? And somebody said, they suffered. They suffered. Our ancestors suffered, right?
The other way.
Well, they did not suffer. Were there times of hunger and cold and hardship and warfare and those kinds of things? Yes. Look around, read the paper. In the 21st century, I see that stuff happening today. Yes? So I once was shown an arrowhead made of jasper that was excavated from an archaeological dig out west. Yeah, I don't need to be. I don't mind stepping horse poop.
Look fresh.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't care. I'm totally fine with that. What was I saying? Oh, an arrowhead or quartzite. I've seen arrowheads made of this rock that's impossibly, to me, impossibly hard, impossibly dense material, and it was fashioned into a perfect arrowhead. I'm like, how was this done? 17 years I've been trying to master the art of flint knapping. I feel like I have. Some people get it within 6 months or a year. Other people, like myself, have to work at it a lifetime. I can make perfectly serviceable and functional stone points and stone tools, but this was a masterpiece, and this thing had to be 1,000 or 2,000 years old. My point is that my ancestors had this incredible ability and creativity and ability to think in 3 dimensions and think logically. And don't you think that survival for a person that had that kind of skill was a piece of cake? Was easy? I know in my heart that it was the case. So just kind of keep that in mind as a possibility. And I only have, I only have this brief hour or 45 minutes with you. I'm going to just try to cram it with as much stuff as I can. Hopefully not to the point of being overwhelmed, but just trying to bring in some basic principles here. And this is, anybody know this tree? The species? Offhand? Let's see, pine. Okay, close. It's a cedar. It's a conifer, and it's a cedar. So pine is very close. And what I'm doing here is I'm not destroying anything here. This bark is going to slough off on its own. This is a repair. This is more recent. This is older. So what I've done here was just taken this bark off, and I'm stripping off the outer bark. Yeah, I'm getting down to this relatively softer inner bark. And I'm going to start buffing this. Or softening it. Breaking up the fiber so that it becomes soft and pliable. And thin it out a little bit, make it a little more workable. Now I read somewhere that this took 6 million years to evolve. About 6 million years. Opposing thumb and forefinger. And whether or not that's true, it probably took a long time. This right here. Mm-hmm. This is the reason I believe that we were able to go to the moon, and that we have things like internet and microsurgery and all this great stuff that we have. And this could be used for good, or this could also be used for bad. If you adults think about what I'm saying, this could be used for nefarious purposes, right? And very creative ways. Still creative. But if this took if it's true that this took 6 million years to evolve, I have to believe that there's a lot of brain surface area that's devoted to this, right? And this is wired, supposedly in theory, this is wired to many different parts of our brain. And when you work with your hands, I don't know if those of you have done this, whether you do some kind of craft, needlepoint, wood carving, woodworking, knitting, anything like that. Many of the religious traditions, rosary beads, prayer beads, Native American tobacco ties, prayer ties, so much of it involves working with our hands. Yet, like us adults are, But adults sometimes need ways to alleviate stress. And it doesn't have to be very complicated. It could be something as simple as just working with your hands. If you think about, I remember years ago when I was a young person and recalling hearing this term about somebody who ends up in a mental institution. What are they going to do? They're going to end up in a mental institution making baskets. You're going to be making baskets the rest of your life. Why do people who are not right in the head, who have mental illness, why is making baskets so beneficial to them? Because it's relaxing to work with your hands. Working with your hands, just this very, very calming thing to do. I know, elders in my family and my in-laws and stuff. I can remember the grandmother sitting there knitting, and she didn't knit like this. She was knitting and talking on the phone, talking to her grandchildren. This is very, very. We don't need to be focusing on this with all of our attention. No, just a couple of percent of our brain is all it takes to just do something like this with your hands. So isn't that kind of cool? Now, what I'm going to do here then, now that I've softened this, that was just a story to kill time while I was buffing out the inner bark of this white cedar here. And so what I can do here now is I'll take this relatively soft and pliable piece of raw material. It could be anything that's like this. It doesn't have to be this species. And I'm going to take the top strand and I'm going to twist it away from me. And I'm going to grab the bottom one and I'm going to give it one twist and one pinch. And I'm going to do, now the one that was on the bottom is on the top. This is called a reverse wrap. Now I'm going to take this and I'm just going to keep doing that. Hey, guess what? I could do this and talk at the same time, even me. I'm not the brightest bulb in the box, and I can just be talking, thinking about what we're going to share on this hike and so forth, and at the same time working with my hands and twisting this cordage. I'm just going to give it another 30 seconds or so, and then I'm going to pass this around so you folks can see this. All right. What am I doing? I'm making rope, also known as cordage or twine. Right? Now, there's 100 different ways to do this. You can roll it on your leg, you can put it on a drop spindle. There's many, many ways and techniques for this. But the beauty of this technique is it takes a while, but it makes a very strong cordage, relatively strong. So just a couple more turns. And then
did Indians and people do this, what you're doing?
Yes, and our European, all of us with a couple of exceptions, all of our European ancestors did this as well. Yeah, Europeans just urbanized a little bit sooner than the rest of the world. And that's debatable too. There were cities in South Africa, there were cities in Southeast Asia, but yeah, the people living close to the land, living tribally, these are universal skills. For our predecessors and our ancestors. So there you go. Hey, tell me your name. It's okay. No, you don't. It's okay. I just checking, just seeing if I could trick you into telling me your name. You know what? And if you never tell me your name, that's perfectly okay with me. Okay? Just between. You know what? I'm not going to tell you my middle name. I'm going to keep that a secret. If you tell me your first name, and I never tell anybody my middle name. If you tell me your first name, I'll share with you my middle name.